Good morning, students. My name is Kalpana and I welcome you to another session of data structures. In this session, I will be dealing about the remaining, that is the non-linear data structures. In the previous video, that is in the introduction part, we have seen the linear data structures, that is the stacks, queues, linked list and arrays. And now we will be going through the non-linear data structure. As we know, the non-linear data structures is represented in a hierarchical way or a parent child relationship, that is it is represented in a hierarchical manner. The examples of non-linear data structures are trees and graphs. In a trees and graphs, each data item is called node, and these data items are represented in a non-linear fashion. Coming to trees. A tree is a data structure consisting of nodes and arcs, and in this the data is stored in a hierarchical manner. It is one of the important non-linear data structures. Here we see a sample tree with four branches and a root node. Here one is given in the node, and the round circles which we see are called nodes, and the pointers, those are called as the arcs. That is, the lines which we are seeing are called as the arcs. Here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are called the data items stored in the nodes. Now here this is a sample tree. A tree is nothing but a collection of disjoint subset of trees, subtrees T1, T2, T3, so on. That is, here the node 1 is called the root node. 2, 3, 4, 5 are called the children of the root node 1, and 6, 7, 8 are called the leaf nodes. Here we are seeing a binary tree here. This is a binary tree in which a binary tree contains only two subtrees, that is a left subtree and a right subtree. Here A is called the root node and B, D, E is the left subtree, C, F, G is the right subtree. A tree with two subtrees, that is left subtree and a right subtree, is known as a binary tree. In this there will be only 0 or 1 or maximum 2 nodes at each level. Next, coming to graph. A graph is a non-linear data structure. In this, the graph, we will be having set of vertices and set of edges. We can say a graph is a collection of vertices and edges. Coming to the definition, we can say that a graph G of V comma E is a set of all vertices V and a set of edges capital E. A simple example of graph is shown here. In this graph, A, B, C, D and E are called the vertices, and the connecting lines which we see are called the edges. In this figure, we are seeing a matrix. This matrix is called an adjacency matrix. In this adjacency matrix, we see uh, if there is an edge from the vertex to the next vertex, the value is given as 1, and if there is no edge between the two vertices, it is given as 0. First, consider the first line. From A to A, there is no vertex, so it is given as 0. From A to B, there is an edge, so the value is given as 1. Like that, from A to C, there is an edge, so it is given as 1. From A to D, it is given as 1 since there is an edge. And from A to E, there is no direct edge, so it is given as 0. This representation is known as adjacency matrix representation. Now coming to the types of graphs. In the types of graphs, we will be dealing about directed graphs, undirected graphs, simple graphs, weighted graphs, connected graphs, and non-connected graphs. These topics will be discussed in detail in the concept of graphs, that is in the last unit. It is one of the important concept of data structure. Now coming to the examples, here we see the diagrams of different graphs. I will be explaining one by one. The first figure shows an undirected graph. The meaning of undirected graph is that here there is an edge from 1 to 2, but on the edge there is no direction mentioned. So it is known as undirected graph. If there are no arrow marks on the edges, then it is called as an undirected graph. Second one is a directed graph. In this, if we observe, there is an edge from 1 to vertex 2, and the direction is also given on the edge, that is from 1 to 2. So since the direction is given, it is called as a directed graph or a diagraph. Here there is an edge from 3 to 2, 4 to 2, and 5 to 4, and 4 to 3, and the directions are also clearly shown on the edges, so it is called as a directed graph. Next, coming to the third graph, this is a weighted graph. Why is it so called? The graph which contains weights on its edges, means the numbers are known as weights. From 5 to 6 there is an edge and it is given as 9, that is from 5 vertex 5 to vertex 6 there is an edge and the cost or weight of the edge is 9. Since it contains numbers on the edges, it is called as a weighted graph. If the graph does not contain any weights on the edges, it is called as simple graph or non-weighted graph. Now coming to the operations on data structures. On the data structures, till now we have seen the different classification of data structures, that is linear data structures, non-linear data structures, primitive data structures, everything. But now we are going to see what all the operations can be performed on data structures. There are different types of operations that can be performed on the data stored in the memory. Some of the operations are, first one, traversal. Traversal means visiting all the nodes. Visiting all the nodes at least once. Means visiting all the vertices or nodes at least once from front to last is known as traversal. Second is insertion. Second is insertion. Insertion means inserting a new element to the graph or tree or linked list or stack. It may be anything, any data structure. Next, coming to searching. What is mean by searching? Searching means to find a particular element in a data structure. That is to find an element, particular element in a stack or queue or linked list or a tree or graph is known as searching. If the search is successful, then we return that the element is found. If the search operation is not successful, then we return search not found. Searching operation can be performed on any data structure, be it an arrays, linked list, trees, graphs, and search, stacks, queues, etc. Now coming to insertion. As we have earlier said that insertion operation can be performed on any data structure, and if the data structure is full, that is if it may be stack or a queue or a linked stack or queue or array, if it is full, then we cannot insert an element into the into that data structure. That is, if the size is maximum, then we cannot insert. This happens in static data structures, that is in arrays. Now deletion. Deletion means to remove an item or data from any data structure. This operation can be performed on any data structure, be it a stack, queue, linked list or tree or graph. The deletion is same as insertion operation. If the data structure is empty, then we cannot delete any item. In stack, the deletion operation is called pop, and in the queue, the deletion operation is called dequeue. Now coming to sorting. Sorting is a process of arranging all the elements in a particular order. That is an ascending order or descending order. We have different sorting algorithms for this. Some of the sorting algorithms will be discussed in the next sessions. That is the bubble sort, quick sort, merge sort. These are different sorting techniques. These can be used to sort the elements in the stack or queue or any other data structures. Next, merging. Merging is a process in which two or more data items, that is two or more linked list, can be joined into a single linked list. This can be applied to linked list data structure for merging two or more linked list into one linked list, that is combining two or more linked list into one list. Now coming to abstract data type. Before coming to this data type, we will discuss small topic, that is what is a data type. Data type is nothing but the type of data we are dealing with while computation is known as data type. That is, if we are dealing with integer numbers, then the data type will be integers. If we are dealing with alphabets, then the data type will be characters. So the type of data we are dealing with in our programs or computation process is called as data type. We have different data types. Some of them are integer, character, float, double, etc. This is about data type. Now coming to abstract data type. This abstract data type is also known as user defined data type or programmer's own data type. That is, in any programming language we have some basic data types, that is int, char, float, double, etc. But our program is our program requires another different data type that is not available in the built-in or fundamental data type. So we construct one new data type. That type of data type is known as abstract data type. For constructing this abstract data type, we specify what all the operations that have to be done on it, and what are the rules for performing the operation, and what is the format it should be stored in the memory. That is, to specify any abstract data type, we require three aspects. That is, the size of the data or the format the data has to be stored, the format it has to be stored, the rules it has to be applied, and the operations that have to be performed on this data type. For example, in C we have different data types: int, char, float, double, like that. But I require a data type called date. It is not available in the built-in data type. So I like to construct the data type date. For this, I have to specify the following. That is, the format it has to be stored in the memory. That is ddmmyy or ddmmyyyy, 4 Ys. The format has to be clearly specified. Then the internal operations which have to be performed on it, that is go to date, calendar, everything, that are the operations that have to be performed on the date. I have to specify that operations clearly, and then all the rules that have to be used, rules that have to be imposed for this operations to be done. I have to specify all these three to declare a new data type. This data type is known as the abstract data type or user defined data type. In this, while specifying this type of data type, I need not specify the internal details to anyone. I keep them in hiding. That is, I provide abstraction. That is, I provide the internal security. That is, I hide the internal details. I just show them the data types. This process is known as abstraction. So it is named as abstract data type. Some of the well-known abstract data types are list, stacks, queues, etc. Now consider this classification. This is the classification of the data structures. Until now we have finished all this clearly. If anything is pending, I will be explaining them later in my next videos. That is clearly when the unit has come. That is in unit 2 I will be explaining linked list. Unit 3 I will be explaining stacks and queues. Unit 4 and Unit 5 I will be explaining trees and graphs concepts. So where and when I will be the unit comes, I will be explaining in them in detail. Now coming to the preliminaries of an algorithm. Now what is an algorithm? Algorithm is nothing but a step-by-step procedure to solve a particular problem. Algorithm is nothing but a step-by-step procedure to solve any problem, can be said as an algorithm. These algorithms can be written in any programming language. They are not implemented in only specific programming language. They can be written in any programming languages. That is language, program language independent they are. Now coming to the characteristics of an algorithm. An algorithm should have the following characteristics. That is, it is unambiguous. That is, an algorithm should be clear and it should have no confusion. Whatever the algorithm we are writing should be clear without any confusion. and each step should be clear and must lead to a meaningful solution. Next, input. My algorithm should take at least one or more input and output. Coming to output, it should give at least one or more as data as output. Now coming to finiteness. Every algorithm should terminate after a finite number of steps. That is, if I am writing an algorithm, my algorithm should be simple, clear, without any confusion, and should terminate after a finite number of steps. It should be simple and it should be in an understanding way. Should be feasible, then should be independent of any language. So whenever you are writing an algorithm, the algorithm should be in such a way that it should be clear, unambiguous, and should take one or more inputs, should give one or more outputs, should be finite, should be feasible, and should independent of any programming language. These are some of the characteristics of an algorithm. Now coming to the algorithm complexity. Coming to this topic, I will be explaining the algorithm complexity. In this topic, we will come across two complexities, that is time complexity and space complexity. That is, when we write an algorithm and execute it, that is, when we write an algorithm, we prepare a program, then run it in the system. That amount of time taken to run that algorithm is called the time complexity. And coming to space complexity, the amount of space required to store the variables that are in the program, that are used in the program, is known as space complexity. That is, the complexity of an algorithm gives the running time, and the space complexity gives the storage time space. So if we want to write a best algorithm, the time complexity and the space complexity of an algorithm should be minimum. That is, it should the running time should be minimum, and the space that it is occupying in the memory should also be minimum. This time complexity and space complexity mainly depends upon the hardware of the system. Now, the time complexity can be calculated using the following notations, that is big O notation, theta notation, and omega notation. For considering or for calculating the time complexity, we can use these three notations. By using these three notation, we can guess the best case, worst case, and also the average case time complexity for an algorithm. Now coming to space complexity. The space complexity of an algorithm is given by SP is equal to C plus SP of I. This mainly depends upon the space required by the variables or data that are independent of the size of the problem. That is, a fixed part, that is space required to store certain data and variables that are independent, that is the simple variables and constants used in the program. And the variable part, that is the variable part means whatever the dynamic memory allocations, recursions, stacks, etc., those calculations are used in the algorithm. That is S of P is equal to C plus SP of I, where C is a fixed part and SP is an variable part. C is constant and SP of I is changing, because the dynamic memory allocations, recursions, and stacks vary from algorithm to algorithm. This is the end of this class 2. Thank you.